Hello, you're watching Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm James Creedon. These are our headlines this Thursday evening. Tensions continue in Sudan after Monday's coup d'etat. Security forces fired tear gas and rubber-coated bullets to disperse protesters. There was one death on Thursday. Our correspondent on the ground has been speaking to leading pro-democracy figures. More on that at the top of the show. An Ethiopian government jet has once again bombed the capital of the northern Tigray region on Thursday. One doctor has reported 10 fatalities. This is just the latest number of casualties in a year-long war. More on that later on. And the University of Aberdeen in Scotland is the latest institution to return looted artwork to Africa. A bronze statue has been handed back to Nigeria. More on that later on in the show. Thank you for watching. We start in Sudan, where Monday's coup d'etat continues to draw widespread condemnation. The UN Security Council has unanimously called for a civilian-led government to be restored in Khartoum. Joe Biden, for his part, reinforced the Security Council's message, saying he would stand by the Sudanese people. Now, in the capital, Khartoum, there is widespread anger over the army's derailing of a fragile transition to democracy. Today saw one death in clashes between security forces and protesters. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan is Sudan's de facto leader since the 2019 ouster of Omar al-Bashir after huge youth-led protests. It was he who dissolved the country's power-sharing government 4 days ago. Now, central to pro-democracy efforts in recent years has been the Sudanese Professionals Association, or SPA. It's an umbrella organisation for 17 trade unions. Our reporter, Bastien Renouil, has been speaking to a spokesman for the SPA, and as you'll hear, they are determined to pursue street protests and a campaign of civil disobedience in a bid to force the military into backing down, just as Omar al-Bashir was forced to stand down in 2019. Let's take a look at that interview.
Walid El-Raya, thank you for being with us today on France 24. The Sudanese Professionals Association had a very big impact during the revolution in 2019 that led to the fall of Omar al-Bashir. Which impact do we want to have after this coup?
What happened in 2019 was an initiative by the Sudanese people. The SPA was organising the movement, and now we're pushing the Sudanese people to take to the streets again, to express themselves, to say they refuse the coup. And as they did in the past, they will succeed again to stop it, and the soldiers will lose their power, because the Sudanese people have decided to be ruled by a civilian government, to be sure that the decision that will be taken are the ones they stand for.
How do you plan to make General Burhan step back and give back the power to a civilian government?
Since the coup was announced, we have been in a state of civil disobedience, and we organised this movement. It's a 100% success. Since Monday, all the streets, all the cities, villages and neighbourhoods in Sudan have been blocked. No one moves around. The Sudanese people refused this coup, and they want this disobedience to succeed. There are huge demonstrations everywhere, and we are going to organise a nationwide protest on the 30th of October. The Sudanese people will go out and stand against this coup.
General Burhan said that he's going to create a government made of civilian technocrats. Would you support this government?
We don't want this government created by Burhan, and I'm wondering how he can give himself the right to make a government if he is only going to choose those who belong to the old regime and those who are only interested by power. This government and this coup has been destined to fail since the first day.
Walid El-Raya, thank you for being with us today on France 24.
Thank you very much. Bastien Renouil there in Khartoum for France 24, one of the very few international journalists being able to follow events on the ground this week. Now, in Ethiopia, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's federal forces have struck Mekelle from the sky. That's the capital of the northern Tigray region. There have been at least 8 strikes in the last 2 weeks. Reports of 10 deaths in this latest strike. The fight is against local Tigrayan forces seeking to break away from Addis Ababa. The conflict has killed thousands, caused a massive food crisis and uprooted more than 2 million people. Here's more from Maria Gert Niculescu.
Conflicting narratives once again surrounding Thursday's airstrike on Mekelle. The Ethiopian federal government said it targeted a factory used as a military equipment facility by the TPLF, the Tigray People's Liberation Front. But medical sources in Mekelle, as well as the TPLF, said a residential area was hit, killing several civilians and injuring over 20. Still very difficult to verify either claims due to the ongoing communications blackouts in the region. The Ethiopian government had started launching airstrikes in several parts of Tigray since the beginning of last week, killing at least 3 people on October 18th, according to the United Nations. Meanwhile, military battles also continue in the neighboring Amhara region, where Tigrayan forces are trying to take control of the city of Dessie, where hundreds of thousands of displaced Amhara residents have come due to fighting in the region in recent months. The conflict started in Tigray almost a year ago and has created a very severe humanitarian crisis across Tigray, Amhara and Afar regions. Access to Tigray is still extremely limited, even for aid workers. Over 400,000 people are believed to be facing famine in the region, and fuel shortages are further limiting humanitarian operations on the ground.
Now, October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and organisations around the world are working to deepen awareness about the condition. They're also advocating for more inclusive policies for those with Down syndrome. Our correspondent in Nairobi, Caroline Kimeu, spoke to one member of T21 Kenya, that's a family support and awareness group in the country. Let's take a listen.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, Caroline.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
You are a parent of a son with Down syndrome and also a member of the support and awareness group for Down syndrome in Kenya. Could you tell us a little more about your experience, your personal experience as a parent raising a child with Down syndrome here?
The awareness and advocacy of the same here in Kenya is not as much. Very many parents, people don't actually know what Down syndrome is. And that is quite evident in other aspects, especially when it comes to medical access, when it comes to therapy, when it comes to schooling. There's so many things intertwined within it. We have a long way to go in terms of advocacy, awareness, in terms of making our journey as a parent with Down syndrome easy.
Could you give us a sense of some of the financial implications of raising a child with Down syndrome, and also give us a sense of medical access and whether the government is doing enough there in terms of support?
All of them are born with very low muscle tone, so you see they have to do therapy from the very beginning, and early intervention is always the best. Like, I had to take my son for therapy from 3 months. That's occupational therapy because he had very low muscle tone, and most insurance companies don't cover for therapy. So I had to cover that from my pocket, which is very expensive. So these are some of the things we would like the government to address for us. Make it free, make it accessible, make it easy for a parent with a child with Down syndrome not to see it like a burden.
You know, internationally, we are seeing people with Down syndrome having wonderful careers and doing amazing things, from former actor Chris Burke to Colette DeVito, who was initially rejected for a series of jobs and is now an entrepreneur and runs her own cookie company. Could you speak to the level of visibility of people with Down syndrome doing great things within the country?
Currently in Kenya, we don't have stats, to say the least, on integration of people with Down syndrome after schooling. But we are hoping that we will get to a place where, as a mom, having a child with Down syndrome, I would not be worried in the sense of, Jeremy has finished school. Where do I take him after this? What do I do with him? Because I'm teaching him how to be independent. So the government has to make it easy for me. As I train my child to suit in to the outside world, they should make the outside world also conducive for them.
Right. Angela, thank you very much for joining us.
Caroline Kimeu there in Nairobi. Now, a bronze statue stolen from Nigeria by British troops in 1897 has been returned. this Thursday. The University of Aberdeen in Scotland follows in the footsteps of the University of Cambridge and the Quai Branly Museum here in Paris. They also announced the return of works looted from Africa in recent days. The bronze depicts a former king of the then Kingdom of Benin, which is now part of modern-day Nigeria. It belonged to the royal court of that time. It's a piece of great cultural value and considered a superb example of Benin late-period art. Camille Nedelec tells us more.
This is the face of a king who ruled a kingdom long since gone. The statue was stolen over a century ago from current-day Nigeria by British troops before being bought by the University of Aberdeen in the 1950s. But when the university recently confirmed that the piece was looted, it decided to hand it back.
It would not have been right to have retained an item of such great cultural importance that was acquired in such reprehensible circumstances. We therefore decided that an unconditional return is the most appropriate action we can take.
This is the third repatriation announced in recent days, as the vast majority of Africa's cultural heritage is in Europe. The Quai Branly Museum in Paris and the British Museum in London alone house tens of thousands of looted objects between them. Nigeria has been demanding the restitution of the artefacts for decades, and this sudden concern in Europe is too little too late for some.
Why are they bringing it into metallic? Instead, let them just bring it once. Because the way they are doing it now, it shows to me that there's a foul play somehow. So, me, I'm not happy.
These types of artworks continue to be made in Nigeria to this day, and there is hope that the return of the stolen artefacts could make more room for a legitimate art market, now that Europe can no longer benefit from African know-how free of charge.
All right, that brings us to the end of tonight's show. It was produced by Laura Di Bazio. Thanks to her and all the team. Thanks to you at home for watching, and good night.